Meet Abram, a settled family man from Haran. He is sturdy, weathered, and quietly respected. He lives within the customs of his people and knows the gods and cities of his age. Meet Sarai, Abram's wife. She is loyal and measured, carrying hopes and the weight of family life. Her presence will test and reveal the faith behind Abram's decisions. In Haran that night, Abram hears a command. God speaks, saying, "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's house, and go to the land I will show you." The voice promises a blessing and a great future for his descendants. As the light fades, Abram feels the cost. To obey means leaving home, property, and the familiar gods of his family. He knows exile and uncertainty await, yet the promise of blessing pulls at him with weighty urgency. The next morning, Abram calls Sarah and the household. He shares the divine command. They begin to gather livestock and goods. The household's obedience will make them strangers on the road, trusting God rather than maps or political alliances. So Abram and Sarah, and all who belong to them, set out. They leave Haran and travel toward Canaan. The road is long, the future unknown, but Abram walks in faith, responding to the voice rather than to the comfort of the known. When they reach the land of Canaan, Abram moves among its hills and valleys. The land is not empty. Its peoples live there. But the land itself becomes the stage of God's promise, and Abram's footsteps mark the first claim of a covenant that links people and place. As Abram stands on a rise, God speaks again. "To your offspring I will give this land." The promise is not only of land, but of offspring as numerous as the stars. This establishes the theological heart. God links lineage and territory through covenantal faithfulness. In response, Abram builds an altar to the Lord and offers a sacrifice. The altar is a ritual sign, a physical act that recognizes God's claim and Abram's commitment. It roots the promise in worship and public testimony among the people who witness him. Days pass and Abram travels across Canaan, pitching tents and building more altars. He does not conquer by force. His presence and worship declare a different kind of ownership, covenantal presence, not imperial domination. This is unexpected in the ancient world. But before the season ends, a famine rises in the land. As the dust thickens, Abram decides to go down to Egypt to survive. This choice shows attention, faith, and promise, yet a human need that forces prudence and painful compromise. When they near Egypt, Abram feels fear for Sarah's safety because of her beauty. He tells her to say she is his sister, so he will be treated well. This desperate plan reveals human fear overriding full trust in God's protection. In Egypt, because of Abram's claim, Sarah is taken into Pharaoh's house. Abram receives gifts and is treated well. Yet the situation infects their obedience with compromise, and the promise's purity is at stake when human schemes intervene. Then the Lord strikes Pharaoh's house with plagues because of Sarah. The affliction makes the danger visible. God acts to protect Sarah and to correct the human deception. Divine intervention exposes the fragile logic of Abram's plan. When Pharaoh calls Abram, he reproves him. "Why did you say she is your sister?" Pharaoh returns Sarah and orders Abram to leave Egypt with all his possessions. This public rebuke restores Sarah, but forces Abram to confront the consequences of his fear. So Abram leaves Egypt with more wealth than when he entered, yet his spirit is chastened. The experience teaches him and Sarah that God's protection cannot be substituted by human deception, and that promise and practice must align. When they return to Canaan, Abram settles near Bethel and builds another altar. The journey has tested him, but he is renewed in resolve. The covenantal promise remains, and Abram's worship reaffirms his commitment to the God who called him. As night settles, Abram stands beneath the stars once more. God repeats the assurance, "Your offspring will be like the stars." The promise endures despite human failure. Genesis 12 teaches that calling requires trust, that God's initiative precedes human ability. In the end, Genesis chapter 12 shows that God's call comes first and shapes a life. Abram's obedience begins a covenantal story, even when he falters. The lesson is that faith moves toward God's promise despite fear. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you do not miss the next one.